Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dead Money Dan Arfin channel. I'm Dan Arfin. Got a hell of a crazy week to go over from the last week. A lot of shit happened. A bit of arguing, a bit of bad beats, a bit of bluffing, a bit of lots of stuff. Now before I continue, I already said this once, god damn it, ooh, like and subscribe to the channel. Yes, like and subscribe to the fucking show. Like and subscribe that shit. Apparently, it's more likely to make people do it, even though it's annoying. I don't want to be annoying. That's why I haven't been saying it. But you people don't learn. So I gotta treat you like fucking children and tell you every fucking episode now to... Alright, whatever. Let's just get right to it. I got some stories about people making really good hands and then refusing to just show it. The other day, this recreational-looking player gets an all-in with another very fishy-looking player. I believe there were 3 spades on the board, and the recreational who went all-in, he's got to go first. He's saying to the other guy, he's like, do you have a flush? You have a flush? He's like, you got a flush? You're good. If you got a flush, you got me. And then maybe the dealer prompted him and said, it's your action. He said, he's like, I have a flush. And he shows 9-8 of spades. And he actually was not trying to slow roll or demean or anything like that to the other player. He legitimately was like afraid of him losing to a higher flush. I think there was like one overcard in a spade. I think the queen of spades is out there. So yeah, he loses to some flushes, and he also beats a fair number of flushes as well. And you never know what people are getting in with sometimes. And guess what the fishy player had? A smaller flush. So we go through this whole freaking, hey, we have a flush, you got a flush, you got me. It's like, people, oh my god, I know they're not pros, but why do these people get so fucking, I don't even know what when they get all in. They just like can't think straight. They just completely short circuit in terms of just like how to act. Just turn your fucking hand over. That's all you're supposed to do. You don't have to ask 100 questions. You don't have to pretend that a certain type of hand beats you when there's a chance that it won't, and then it didn't. And it's just like, you got a flush, you got a flush. It sounds like the way he's talking out of a set or a straight. I don't remember the rest of the board. And then he just has a flush. Oh, that's 2-5, people. People are people, but obviously this happens a lot more at 2-5 poker than anywhere in the world. So then I think a couple days later, I showed up for a night game, and action was pretty slow for most of the night. I think one of the more exciting things to happen was when I noticed my water bottle was missing. And like the table noticed I was looking for something, and I was actually quite impressed with how much they participated in like trying to help me find my water bottle. I was planning on doing this all by myself without even telling anyone that my water bottle was missing. I can resolve this without a team of support. It's not that it wasn't nice of them to give it. And it was funny because I tell the floor, I ask if anyone turned something into the lost and found or whatever. I was like, because my water bottle has gone missing. And they bring out a water bottle that looked a hell of a lot like mine. But I realized it wasn't, so good thing I didn't drink from it. Anyway, the problem was resolved when I realized a player who had table change and took a table, one of those little side tables with him, to his table with his food and whatever. My water bottle was on the bottom shelf of that table. So we found it. Crisis averted. But then there were a couple of occasions where some people got upset. I just thought it was funny when this white female dealer with glasses sat down and asked if there was a player in the 4 seat. And the reason it's funny is because the 4 seat was completely empty. Now, a player had just vacated his seat, but like she walked up like while he was like taking his chips, taking his belongings, taking like everything with him. Like he left. But amidst all of this boredom that was going on in the game, when she asked, is he in the game? I just like looked down and I was like, yeah, he's right here. He's just underneath the table. A little humor, please, something. And the table laughed and the dealer kind of snapped at me. She's like, well, I didn't know if he was right. I was like, okay. I'm just fucking with you. It's all right. Then comes a hand, folds over to me, and I have 9-4 suited, and I raised to 20, and the small blind, another newly joined player who looks like a reg, is this Asian woman, and she throws out a black chip, and she clearly wants to 3-bet to 100, and I heard like a speck of noise come out of her, but like I didn't really hear her. I mean, all I heard was a tiny bit of noise. I didn't hear anything. No one heard her say anything. And the dealer's saying it's a call. And she's getting all mad and upset. And then call the floor man over, and I'm like, no one heard anything. And like what I thought I heard, I don't even know if I heard it. Like I knew she wanted a 3-bet 200. She did not make any clear announcement that she was raising. So fuck her. So they ruled it a call. And then the flop was like king, jack, blank. I mean, I whiffed. And this hand went check, check all the way. And she had ace, queen. And you'd think she would have like bet the flop, because even though she wasn't the 3-better, technically, she kind of was, because it's known that she wanted to 3-bet. And it's also known that I clearly like didn't want her 3-bet to stand. So that should be telling her a lot about my range. Nevertheless, I still want to see the flop. I mean, okay, I was better than folding. So she gets this flop, which hits her pretty well for a 3-better, and connects with her hand fairly well. I mean, relatively well, of course, you know. Just surprised she was so passive. I mean, maybe she was just like so flustered by the fact that the ruling went against her that she just checked out, because she played this pot as if mentally she approached it at like a single raise pot. It was a single raise pot, but she doesn't have to check to me. I mean, she can still bet. It wouldn't have seemed stupid. It would have been like, this is the continuation bet that you didn't get to have the 3-bet in front of. So then I think the next hand, or like 2 hands later, I'm in the cutoff and I raise to 20, and she makes it 105. She throws out a black and a red, and it folds back to me. And I think I said I had the vibes. So I fold, and then I said to the dealer, after she has taken the chips, after she's won the pot, I said to the dealer, I didn't hear anything. And like some players laughed, the dealer laughed. She's like, 2 chips, she doesn't have to say anything, like repeating it, but knows I'm kidding. But then the girl says to me, she's like, I don't have to raise, I threw in 2 chips. Like, she took me completely seriously. And then I just freaking snapped back at her. I was like, it's a fucking joke. I was like, Jesus, does anybody at this table has a sense of humor? So now we got a couple hands from that evening. So this first hand happened after this game broke, since, like I said, nothing was going on. So I think maybe like my third or fourth hand, I have king jack suited in the small blind. It falls to the cutoff, and he just makes it 35, which is quite big. And his range could be a lot of different things from a random looking player, but with no information, I think folding is totally fine. So I do. And then the big blind calls, and of course I flop top too. And it was interesting though that hand ran out with the big blind backdooring the nut flush after flopping a Broadway draw. So it's like, so if I had flatted that raise, I mean, who knows what happens post flop? I may have won the pot, or I could have had a very brutal decision to make on the river. You know what the raiser had from the cutoff? King 9 off. So I just got him totally smashed. I mean, who knows, on another day I may have 3-bet him. I mean, and who knows what he does if he calls it, but either way, you're putting yourself in a position where you're going against a hand that's actually in really bad shape versus you. Then I get king jack again. This time it's the offsuit variety. I raise to 20 and the small blind, and I'm still brand new to this game, by the way. And I get 3-bet to 65, and I thought about 4-betting. Really, really thought about it. Wanted to do it, but I call. Then the flop comes queen 10-6 with a flush draw, and I don't have either of the clubs, so only 6 of my 8 straight cards give me the nuts. And that's a shitty situation to be in with your overhanded straight draws. Anyway, he only bets 50, and I got this like annoying straight draw. And I thought about 4-betting pre. Now it looks like more bullshit, so I was like, fuck it, I just raise. I think I made it 175, and then he 3-bets to 500. And he's still kind of deep, but it's hard to like really know what to do here. I mean, it's because I think he had about another 800 or 900 left. So calling is just really shitty. And if he has a flush draw, then now my hand is really in annoying shape, and you don't know how good you're ever going to be if you turn top pair. I mean, the hand gets a little better on a lot of different turns, but this is a shitty spot. I don't know what's correct here. I mean, I just didn't feel good about it, so I folded. And then he shows me the 9-5 of diamonds. Queen 10-6, 2 clubs, no diamonds. His 3-bet began with 65. Yeah, 4-bet would have ended this right here and now. Instead, he gets this flop and then gets raised on it. And for some reason, didn't believe me and re-raised to 500. I mean, this was probably the only hand that I would like raise fold. Other than maybe like 7-8. Maybe I would raise some weak gut shots because, well, actually 7-8 is even a sketchy hand to raise with because you don't want him to have King Jack call and then stack you every time a 9 comes. But maybe it's a chance you can still take against the fish. That's not going to happen that often. But when he comes back with this 3-bet on the flop and you end up folding and then get shown this hand, you realize you were right all along, but then you just assume that you were wrong and fold because if you were right, why would he be doing what he's doing now? So, like, did the guy make some good read on the flop that he thought I was a little light and then he just outplays me with this fucking hand? I mean, you can say that he did that, but, like, it's just a really bad idea for him to even be looking to make trouble with this hand in this spot. Because if he's wrong, and you're kind of more likely to be, if you're messing around with these hands in these spots to begin with, you're probably more likely to misread the situation. Because once you get out there this deep into the ocean with hands like trash that you just don't even know how you got yourself into this mess, but now you're here and you just want to win the pot somehow, and you just convince yourself there's a way you can. Next thing you know, you're stacked. So good for him on his result that day. Have fun. So it had been a kind of a frustrating evening, but things going mostly up and down, never up much, never down much. I was very close to leaving, and then this hand came up. I raised a 20 in middle position with king, queen off, and the big blind calls. And the big blind is this new reg I've seen the last few weeks, and he's another reg who probably can do enough to win, but is making a lot of big mistakes and is going to get the reality that comes with that sooner or later. So he peels big blind. Flop is king, jack, 8, spade, spade. I got the queen of spades. He check raises me from 20 to 75. And in a lot of spots, I would want to be folding. Now, it's nice that I have the spade at least, but it's also kind of not nice because since it blocked bluffs. So that card has pros and cons to it. Nevertheless, I felt like I should call because, I don't know, the 75 just didn't seem that big. I mean, I do fold a lot to check raises on the flop with hands like this, but that's if they're like very big check raises, and especially if they're in a 3-bet pot. But in a single raise pot, they'll be a little wider. Not as much wider as they should be, but they will definitely be a little wider. Turns the ace of clubs, he checks, and I can definitely start turning my hand into a bluff here, but I kind of just don't want to. And I've talked to a few people about this hand, and everyone's just like, yeah. So you just check back, and the river is the queen of clubs, so there's a backdoor flush, and I have the king of clubs, and it's also forward of Broadway, and I have kings and queens on this board. So this is a goodie bag board. It's got a little bit of everything. I have 2 pair that I have no confidence this is going to win in some value-y way, and you're just hoping he checks, but he quickly bets 170 into 190. And I thought, all right, that's a strong hand. He's probably got a straight, probably made it on the river, and I'm just going to fold because he's got a pretty good hand. And I started thinking, it's a lot harder for him to have a flush, and I have the king of clubs. Like, I could have had the king X of clubs or the jack X of clubs, and there's like no reason to think he would have check raised either of those kinds of hands on the flop. I mean, he'd have to have like 10-9 of clubs specifically. It's one combo. He can have a lot of other 10-9X, especially this guy who I think will call 10-9 off more than he should. I could totally be wrong about that, but I included this hand in this player's range at a higher frequency. Started thinking maybe I can just bluff jam this shit because it's not something he's ever seen me do, put in a lot of money all at once. I mean, I haven't played a lot with him yet, and I guess nothing too dramatic with me has happened while we've been there. And even though he might have 10-9 off with a club and may start getting tempted to call because of that, just thought this is not going to be a call anyone wants to make. I mean, him going that big with just a straight would be pretty pointless for him to be doing. So I think about jamming, and that would be like 1,200-1,300. It'd be a really significant jam. But I thought, I don't want to go fucking to like raise, like a big size. I think in this situation, I just got to go for it all. So I did. I pushed the little red button, and he folded rather quickly. And I did not show, And I remember there was a little shit talking after. I was just kind of irritated this whole night with the way things were going, which is why I made that joke to the dealer. I was kidding. I wasn't like trying to be an asshole, but like just with the way people were acting that night and how boring the games were and just running into these little mini cold deck annoying spots just makes you a little more likely to be a smartass if you get a chance. And I don't even remember what I said, but I was like, I think he said nice flush, or I said no, this was a bluff, but I'm not going to prove it. Yeah, I think that's what I said. I said something like that. And that I was like, I said, this is a luxury we all get to have sometimes. We all get to be the only one who knows, like, the truth. So blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a big deal. But now we'll get to the slow roll. So I go in one morning and Squeaky is there. And I haven't played with Squeaky for a while. Now, Squeaky, since I haven't talked about him for a while, is a recreational player who has a bit of know-how. He injects a lot of energy into the game by being extremely loud, pretty obnoxious, just makes people laugh. But like, you're only going to like him as well as you're doing in the game. Is kind of how it is. I never really want to play with him, even though he's like kind of funny. I mean, he said to somebody else, like, we have a love-hate relationship. And I love the fact that I got him to hate me, because he goes in and tries to get everyone to hate him. So if he hates somebody, that means you're getting him with something. But I think both have realized, like, over time, the other is actually kind of funny too. So whatever. But Squeaky, who is such a huge whale pre-flop, I mean, it's just a random streak. There's so many random streaks, but the streaks can be so streaky sometimes. You just can't even believe it. And I feel like I've said this before. Whenever I walk in and see Squeaky in a game that he's been in for hours and I first come in the afternoon, like, he has fucking piles every fucking session. Like, he has 4, 5, 6, 7,000, like, every time. Now, he could still be in for a lot of money and not necessarily be winning that much. But it doesn't matter, because either way, he still went on this huge uptick, whether he's getting unstuck or just pure winning. Just to be able to get on an uptick like that all the time is just like... Because we look forward to playing with guys like Squeaky, because Squeaky makes the game... He does make the game do a lot of things. So, the pros and cons are pretty extreme with him. Can't stand his company, but he makes the game play. I had a situation with him last year where I turned aces into a bluff and bluffed him off the second nut flush. Yes, that is a true fucking hand history. And Squeaky is somebody who doesn't like to fold big hands, but if he thinks you're nitty, then he will. And he may have gotten a little better at that over time anyway. But Squeaky and I, in what relative few hours we've put in together, I've run into a lot of situations where he has made a lot of hands, and I've made some too, but like, with all the mistakes Squeaky is making pre-flop constantly, it's that much harder to make a really strong hand, yet it's still happening. So, I mean, we know action players are going to do enough things that's always going to put people in more spots, put in tough spots more often, but the percentage at which it's happening in the pots we play, like, it's increased way too much for this to be normal. Like, it's not normal for an action player to make it this hard on you. Like, we know he's going to make it hard on you more often because he's action, but it's not supposed to just spike to the fucking moon, because this is not like a brilliant player we're talking about here, okay? He has strengths. He runs a good offense. So when things are breaking his way and you got people stuck and tilted by him, he could probably win a lot of extra money in spots he's probably not entitled to, but gets it anyway. So he has strengths as a salesman. But the thing is, when you're playing against people who run hot against you, doesn't even have to be burning hot, just like, memorably hot. After a while, it's like you just don't want to play with these people. Like, it's just nothing but poor memories, even though you know that this can't continue, so you're not going to quit them. But when whales go into casinos and they start knocking them dead, they get on some heater at craps or whatever game, they just stop them from gambling. They know, they don't care. They just want to put a stop to your rush. They think you just could be on a rush right now. And yeah, it's going to end at some point, but they don't think it's going to cool down yet. That's just how they proceed. They stop taking your action, they bring you back a little later, and then maybe you start losing then. But the point is, it's not just an individual poker player who gets like turned off by playing with somebody who's just freaking godmoning them, especially when on top of it, this person is also just a laughing hyena the whole time he's there, and it's just very loud, and people get annoyed. People get very annoyed. I'm not saying he's without redeeming qualities. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things he brings to the room and to a game that are just very ungentlemanly, just things that are totally classless and tasteless and are just so obnoxious and immature. You can't even think of what to say back to it. You're just speechless by what you just heard. But he's pretty funny too. So anyway, after the ace's hand, where I bluffed him with it, turned it into a bluff, shortly after that, we got into a situation where a one-outer came on the river, meaning he had me beat the whole way. I had queen 10, he had 10s, and then a 10 came on the river. I made a pair of 10s, and he made a set. And long story short, I was talked myself into believing he's bluffing me back, and instead he has a one-outer. But when I called him, he's like, good call. I only have a set of 10s. The motherfucker slow-rolled me. And I've been meaning to get him back. Not like dreaming about it, but like meaning to do it. So I played a few hands with him already that were annoying, but I think some he won and some I won. But just typical squeaky situations. Anyway, so I raised with Queen Jack of Hearts in a straddle pot. He called the small blind. And the flop came 10-9 deuce rainbow with none of my suits, no backdoor flush. So he checked. I actually thought about throwing in a check back, but it's squeaky. He can call with a lot of worse shit. So my hand is not unhappy if it gets check raised. Or not too unhappy, I should say. But anyway, I turned the nuts with the 8, and the pot has 160. I check, I bet 150. He's talking all about making some big fold. And it really sounded like he was going to fold. I got the fucking nuts. But then he called, and the river was an ace, and he checked. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, you can totally slow roll him right now if he calls you. I already had my plan worked out. I was like working on the dialogue more than my bet size. But I bet 350. And, he does a little hoo and ha. And he calls. And I said, queen high. He gets excited and says, I got the 9, and turns over queen 9 off. And then I said, straight, and turned it over. So I totally announced my hand for what it is. I said queen high straight properly. I just said it, with a little beat in between. Had a little in my throat, and then finished my sentence a little slowly after Squeaky had excitedly, very excitedly, proudly turned over his queen 9 off, only to find out that he just got fucking sunned on the slow roll. He got so fucking wide-eyed. I saw a look go on his face that I'd never seen before. He came running around the table. He embraced me. He hugged me so much. He was very proud of me. And this is what he's here for, is the entertainment. It's like, yeah, he's sick about it, but like, he slow rolls the fuck out of people, and now all of a sudden it happened to him, and he was totally not expected by it. He was so blindsided that he just couldn't help but love it. And this is the first time I've ever truly like slow rolled somebody. And I said afterwards, I was like, I still feel guilty about it, even though you deserve it. I said, I just don't like doing shit like that. But I was like, he slow rolls me last year. It's like, I didn't forget. It was funny. I clearly didn't forget, but I wasn't thinking about it. It was so sick how it just came to me out of nowhere that I can pull the slow roll off here the perfect way, in the perfect spot. Life's little victories. But then comes a hand where the straddle's on again, and Squeaky raises to 50, and Squeaky's got piles, and I have piles too, by the way. We're about 4,500 when this hand started, and the straddle was on, so we're not technically 900 big blinds deep. Technically now it's 450. Nevertheless, though, psychologically, it's still $4,500 in a 2-5 game. So when Squeaky raises to 50, I mean, he hadn't opened this big in a while. He was doing limping, doing some small raises. This was a bigger size raise, so I was already thinking it should probably be a stronger hand this time. And I got kings in the small blind. Whoa. I make it 210 and Squeaky calls. And the flop is 7-5-3, 2 hearts and a diamond. I have no hearts. And it's going to be tough if I get raised on this flop. So I check, and Squeaky quickly bets 300 into about 420, 450-ish. Something like that. And I definitely felt that he likes his hand a bit here. He may not like it as much later, but for now he likes it. And he quickly bet the 300. And in a hand earlier in the session, I had raised with ace-7, and he called small blind with king-jack, and the flop came ace-queen-10. So he flops Broadway. He just led into me for pot on the flop. Snap led into me for pot on the turn. And I was starting to getting a feeling like I should fold the turn, but I called, and the river was another 10, but the flush missed. He bet 250, and I think it's a dumb payoff. But like I said, Squeaky runs good offense. He gets action, so he gets the money. Good for him, I guess. But he led so fast that I just took note of it. And by the way, for as aggressive as Squeaky behaves, and he tries to sell himself that he's playing that way, I mean, he can bluff, but time after time after time after time where I see him play a huge pot, he just always has the fucking nuts. So he's either a lot nittier with what he puts piles in with. He'll put a little bit of money in with a ton of shit, but when it comes to putting the stack in, he might be very tight at that point. And that's how it seems, because when I see him put huge money in, I never see him, I've hardly ever seen him have a bluff. So if he does bluff big amounts a lot, then he's just running really hot whenever I'm around. And also keep in mind that he's winning a lot, so people tend to be less likely to bluff big when they're already winning. I'm not saying he would do that necessarily, it's just that it is something to be aware of when it comes to how people are playing when they're having a big session. Because I think a lot of people perceive the people with big stacks as bullies, like they're invincible because I got all this money, even though it doesn't really matter. If he has you covered, then he has you covered. It doesn't matter who else he covers. So it always cracks me up when someone says at a cash game table, like, oh, he's the chip leader, or like, oh, you think you can do this because you're the chip leader. It's like, the chip leader? This is not a race. That's what a tournament is. It's a race. But anyway, I figure with this flop, Squeaky might have a big hand already again, or he just has a hand that's got quite a bit of equity. And I said, he could have, and I said because he raised to 50 and he hadn't done that for a while, I felt that he had a stronger hand this time. But that's not like a lock, okay? He could have just a pocket pair and a flop the set already. He can still just have 6-4 suited. I mean, he can have all these hands and still decide to just raise to 50 for some reason out of nowhere. I mean, he could just do that. I wasn't really leaning that way, but I wasn't ruling it out. Nevertheless, I had this funny idea that jamming the flop would be an interesting move. Completely insane. Because I'd be sticking in over 4,000 into what would be 1,000, more than one, 1,050 at that point. Going 4x pot, check, shove. I mean, I had an idea about doing that, but it just seemed a little bit too risky. That if he calls, I'm probably dead. or he's going to have the nut flush draw with a straight drawer. He's going to have a hand that can improve a lot. Now, those hands are in tough spots when they have to call that big of a bet. And if he has jacks, for instance, he may start to get suspicious that I have the nut flush draw only, because why would I want to check shove that much money with aces or kings? I mean, it's not really a necessary move. I think calling and just playing out the rest of the hand, you can figure it out with. But one of the most important parts of this hand is just the fact that since I'm such a fucked up person and have had sleep issues getting out of whack pretty consistently the last few weeks, playing a lot of sessions where I know I'm going in there, I'm not feeling great, that I'm a little tired, and I know that it compromises me at least a little. And you can't help it. No matter how aware you are of it, you still just can't help it. I wasn't even planning to play this day. I was actually just going in there on an impulse because I guess I wanted to play. I just want to get some action, and I do want to play poker, people. And lately that's meant accepting that this could be a bit of more of a B-ish performance. Anyway, so I called the 300, and the turn was not a nice one. It was a 4, so any 6 makes it straight. Now I check, and he quickly bets 1,000. And it seems hard for him to have a 6, and I still think he would be value betting sets and 2 pairs here. Is he necessarily going for that size? I don't know. But either way, there are a number of ways he can show up with a 6 here, and if I'm not willing to call a jam on the river on a lot of rivers, then I can't call the 1,000. So I just folded here, just going off the fact that I just see Squeaky fucking have the nuts in all these situations time after time after time. So I just figured that he's got another one, even though I kind of don't believe it this time, because I kept thinking about my initial read is that maybe he's got a more of a better holding this time. So the only way he'd have a 6 is probably if he had ace-6 of hearts. Because I don't know if he would bet that big on the flop with just 6s or 7-6, because I thought he liked his hand significantly. And I don't know if he would like sixes and sevens significantly enough to bet about 3/4 on the flop, close to it. So, of course, he's bluffing this time. He shows me the king, queen of hearts. So I just have him totally wrecked before the flop. It's going to be so hard for him to win this hand. And it starts out with him flopping a flush draw and then getting this 6-outer turn card that creates a 4-liner straight but isn't a flush card. And then puts me in another really bad spot again. And because I wasn't fully sharp going in, I wasn't able to navigate the situation. If I was fully rested, would I have called him or made the perfect play in this hand? I'm not saying I would have done that. I'm just saying I would have had a better shot at that. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses for this. It's just, it sucks. It's an explanation. You're trying to figure out what went wrong in there, and you realize, well, I'm not fully rested. So it's like, it doesn't seem like a coincidence that this would have happened. And this is why I don't like playing unless I'm feeling my absolute best, because it's just fucking brutal to have to stomach these kinds of situations more often. Because if you're on, and say, your B game, things like this are going to happen more often, where you play a big pot, whether you bluff off or get bluffed or call it off or whatever, and it's just something you did causes things to swing one way instead of another. I mean, because things are, big pots and decisions people make, I mean, they're really settled by the margins a lot. So, you can crush the game, but you got to be precise. Showing up is not enough to just crush the game. And look, we can't call every bluff, but what makes me sick about them sometimes is because every time a person is bluffing you, the writing is on the wall somewhere. They're bluffing. The energy is out there for you to grab onto, that they want you out. And it's just always a black and white binary situation. What's he trying to do? Does he want me to call or does he want me to fold? What does he want me to do? And I did what Squeaky wanted, so he got the last laugh today. I got him with the slow roll, and then he gets this fucking situation. That's a situation I could have handled, maybe, but he bluffed me. And imagine if I had jammed the flop. I don't think he would have called another 4,200 with the hand that's a flush draw with overs, but not the nut flush draw. Because if he thinks I could have aces, he knows he can't call. If he thinks I have enough flush draw, he knows I can't call. He blocks kings or queens, but I can still have some of them. So, who knows? I mean, he may have called, though. Like, you can't put it totally past him. You just can't. So, imagine if he had called. Well, we don't know what the river was. I have a lot of other hands and other things to talk about, stories, but we'll call that here now for today. So, like and subscribe. See you next time.